Hello and welcome to Metal Talk from Metal Coffee Shop. My name is Heidi Ellsworth, and I am thrilled to be here today to bring you some really revolutionary information for metal roofing. This is going to be a big deal today, so I'm glad that you're all here. Couple things. We are recording this. It will be available on demand within the next 24 hours. So please be sure to share it with your company, friends, neighbors, whoever that may be. And we also are going to have our chat open the entire time. So please let us know who you are, where you're from, your company, and we'll be using that chat for you to ask questions the entire show. So let's get started. As I mentioned, I am very excited to talk about metal roofing simplified. Our guest today is Rob Soper with EagleView, and we're going to be talking about the changes that are happening in metal roofing around technology, and it is pretty phenomenal. So to get started, I would love to welcome Rob to Metal Talk. Rob, thank you for being here today.
Absolutely, Heidi. Thanks for having me along this afternoon. I'm super excited about this conversation.
Me too. We have a little bit of a history here, so I'm really excited for you to share. Before we get started, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your career in roofing?
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Rob Soper. I'm a senior business development manager here at EagleView. I've been with the company since 2017, going on 6 years. Time flies, but I've been in construction and roofing since I was a kid. I was walking roofs and hand nailing 3 tabs, back in the 70s. Before we had compressors and cell phones and computers and any of those things. And I've, certainly watched an industry change and grow over the years. I also worked for Elk Roofing or Elk Shingle manufacturer. So I was there for about 16 years. I started in the East Coast, New Jersey and Philadelphia was my old market. And I moved to Colorado in 1998 and continued along that career until GIF bought Elk in 2007. I left the industry for a while and then came back in 2017. But it's kind of a funny story because one of my old Elk buddies, I was on active duty. I've spent a lot of time in the military as well, in and out, and I was on active duty and I was looking for a job coming, transitioning back out. And I was kind of trying to get out of the roofing industry. Once you're in, you're in. I've realized
Right.
now that I can never get out. But he called me one day when I was driving home from work and he said, "Hey, do you have any contractor friends in Colorado who might want to work for EagleView?" And I was in the process of looking for a job. I said, "Well, timing's right. Well, tell me about EagleView." And I'd never heard of it before because I left the industry in 2008. He said, "Well, we fly airplanes, take pictures, and measure roofs, and you don't have to do that anymore." I said, "That's the coolest thing in the world." I'm like, why wouldn't anybody use that, and why would anybody want to not work for a company like EagleView? So, here I am. 6 years later, well embedded in the technology side of the construction industry, which is really cool.
Yeah, I love it. Rob, you and I crossed paths, right? Because I was with EagleView and then left, come to Roofer's Coffee Shop, and you went in. So the history of it is so interesting. So let's get to that. I want to say again, please, with your questions, I already see some folks coming in with their names and where they're from. Thank you so much. We're so excited to have you. So please be sure to keep going with that chat because we'll be taking questions throughout the entire event. Okay, so Rob, we were both talking about EagleView. So I think there's 1 or 2 people out there in the world who don't know who EagleView are today. So, but can you just talk about it a little bit, what it is, and like you just started?
EagleView, I think there's a misperception in the construction industry that we're just a roof report business, and that's all we really are. But our company has grown over the past 20 years in business to really being an imagery and data provider, not just a roof report business. So to support that effort, we have 130 airplanes, or in excess of 130 airplanes. We have about 96% of the structures in the United States captured. We don't use satellite. That's really the big difference between us. I mean, all of our imagery and our data is organic to EagleView. So we don't go out to third parties to capture. We do it all in-house, and we combine what we call orthogonal, which is top down, so like what you would see with a satellite, with the oblique imagery, what you see in the photograph on the left-hand side, to really be able to capture the entire building envelope, from roofing, siding, windows, doors, the whole exterior of residential and commercial structures. And we get resolution that can be up to 70 times better than satellite. And that's really kind of the secret sauce. And where that relates to the metal roofing is it provides us like unmatched accuracy because of the resolution of our imagery. Every day we have about 78,000 contractors who are using the EagleView service. So there's probably a couple of people who haven't heard of us, but not many.
Not many.
But I'm sure that there's more than a few who didn't realize that we were only airplanes and not satellite. And that's, and that's really a big differentiator. And we also have scale to meet like enormous demand. So multiple hurricanes, when hurricane season rolls through and we have insurance, carriers as clients and contractors as clients, we can hit 40 to 50,000 roof reports in a day, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah. Wow. That's great. I mean, how far it came from when I first started working there.
Yeah.
At the end of 2009. So, wow, amazing. So I want to, for everyone who's out there now, I do want to remind everybody that this is being recorded and it will be on demand. So if you don't get a chance to see the whole thing today, it's going to be on demand and it will be there. I would love to ask a question in the chat right now. And just so that we can kind of get a feel, I'd love to know how many of you offer metal roofing services today with your business, and how many are so you don't, not how many, but let me know if you are offering metal roofing today, and then let me know if you're looking to get into metal. So just put that in the chat, already doing metal roofing or looking to get into metal roofing. And we'll cover that as we go through, as people are putting that in the chat. And so, Rob, what we're just talking about, how far it came since 2008 when EagleView first launched their first fax from Roofers Coffee Shop, believe it or not, that long ago. And so much has changed. So why don't you talk a little bit about what the metal roofing looked like in the past and kind of where, how those things are starting to change, but really, what was it in the past?
Sure. I mean, and there's kind of two different segments, which is why you asked the question. I mean, we see people who are current metal contractors who are looking to kind of, expand or accelerate their metal business. And we also look at a segment of the people who are listening today who are probably asphalt contractors who haven't taken the step because it can be more complicated. And you see the picture on the left is a tape measure. I'm like, that's how it was done before. And with technology, and not just EagleView, technology and software platforms that use that data, you're measuring and bidding and estimating with keyboards and, smartphones and all those things that didn't even exist, when we got into the roofing business years and years ago. But really, it's automating those human processes. One time you used to have to drive across town and throw a ladder against a house and walk a roof and take measurements and put them on your piece of paper. Now you can get pre-ordered, measurements and data of roof structures right through the computer. And it's taking that data and then putting it into some kind of platform that really performs the magic of this entire thing. And we take workflows that once took hours, if not days or weeks in some instances, and compress those down into minutes or hours in many cases. The accuracy on the metal side as well is something that's really always I wouldn't say it's prevented us from providing a service into the metal industry, but the accuracy has always been a question. Whereas you can get away with round numbers in asphalt, you need precision and sub 1 inch kind of accuracy in order to develop that entire list of materials and not only accurately bid, but accurately create that material list and cut list. So that's something that we're solving nowadays with the technology.
Yeah. Well, I know when I first started with EagleView, we had a lot of metal roofing contractors who wanted to use EagleView, but it just wasn't quite ready yet. So we have what's happening today with the innovations around that is just phenomenal. And I don't know if everybody really realizes that yet. So if you've used it before, trust me, the stuff you're going to see here in just a minute and throughout this presentation is crazy cool. So let's ask a quick question of everybody in the chat. Do you use EagleView today? Just say yes or no. That'd be great. And we're going to start talking around that. So you have a new program, Rob, you have worked so hard on, and I've been lucky to be involved pretty much from the beginning too. And that's Roofing Passport. It's a game changer. So let's talk about that.
Absolutely. And Nadia, your participation, with this program has been fantastic as well, given your knowledge and industry expertise. So we appreciate, the partnership out there. So what I do on the business development side with EagleView, my primary focus is to work with partners who integrate their platforms with our data solutions. So, I'm really on the technical side, not necessarily on the front end sales side. But this is what I do. So all day long, I work with our partners who are taking our data and transforming it into usable products, for contractors out there every day. And we are seeing, a significant growth in just the utilization of that data in that way, rather than just ordering a PDF, taking it and writing down your things or transcribing that into a spreadsheet. We have integrated solutions, and that's really what I do. But a few years ago, Sherwin-Williams was looking to grow their paint business, and as a supplier of paint to the metal coatings industry, and they decided the best way to do that was approach the contractors directly, something that they just don't do as a paint manufacturer. So they've been putting together a partnership, and EagleView is the measurement provider, primarily because of our accuracy. Our data that's provided in the Roofing Passport is sub 1 inch. It's remarkable, that resolution, like I said earlier, that gets you there. So where you might see a PDF that's rounded to the foot, or the underlying measurements, the XML is what we call. It's kind of how we deliver the data, is really remarkable. And the way we do that is we georeference every structure. So every intersection of a line on a roof actually has an X, Y, and Z coordinate. Not to be too technical, but we recreate a 3D model over the surface of the earth, and the dimension of a ridge, for instance, is the line between 2 points in space, not a line drawn on a picture. So that's how we get that kind of accuracy. And the better our photographs, the better our imagery gets, the more accurate and more precise the data that flows out of that comes in there. But Sherwin-Williams, in partnership with Sherwin-Williams, we have built this Roofing Passport platform, and it allows metal contractors to take EagleView data and roll it into the platform and generate takeoffs and estimates and cut lists that are ready for production, ready for bidding and estimating. Really, I was talking to a contractor up in Washington a few months ago, and I was showing them this, and the feedback I got was, this has taken the process of actually building an estimate from 3 or 4 hours, exclusive of the job site visit. Like literally when you get back to the office, it would take them that long to draw this out and do all these things. But the way the cut list is organized and delivered to their production staff, and allowed them to organize the materials on the job site, has saved them 1 to 2 days on each job from a production standpoint. So, it's kind of remarkable. So this platform gives, the users all the needs, solves a measurement problem, solves the estimating, bidding, the material ordering is all in there. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's, I tell you, it's crazy. Now I really would love, and we do have a question, and Kyle, I'm going to come back to this question, but I would love, from this process, Rob, can you do just a quick demonstration to show everyone? Because I think seeing is believing, and what Absolutely. The Roofing Passport can do. So we're going to swap screens here. Okay. And this is cool.
Cool. Can you see my screen okay?
Yes, this is great.
Fantastic. So again, it's backed by Sherwin-Williams. They're the brand logo. They're the leading coating supplier for the metal roofing industry. So this brand here and this platform was built around EagleView data to supply the contractors that are out there with the tools. So essentially, you can order the data right through this new job platform. All the jobs that are in your list drop into your queue. And once you click on it, it'll bring up the project in the interface. Now, this job, I was at Western States last September, and a contractor from Hawaii came up, and they do a lot of metal out there in Hawaii. And I showed him the roofing passport, and he's like, "That's unbelievable." So this is the job that he literally had this report in his pocket, and he was trying to solve how he was going to do this with a metal roof, and it was metal, off and back on again. So I pulled this job into the roofing passport to show you kind of like, this is an extreme of how complicated it is. But I want to show you first real quick, the EagleView report, just so you can see the top down roof imagery. And then that's the job. And I'll tell you, there's a lot of contractors that I would talk to every day that would see that picture and just turn around and walk away. They wouldn't even attempt to start to estimate this job because of the complexity and how long it would take to build out the roof estimate for this thing. So just a beautiful structure, but that kind of data is pretty complicated. So when you get back in here, you can see that this whole model is built in 3D. You can see the dimensions down to the sub 1 inch, on all these things. So that would be about as complicated as you get. So I'm going to reel it in and show you a house that's probably a little bit more common to what you would find here. So with this is the wireframe diagram, just like you would see on a top down of an Eagle report, and it's re-rendered. So like I said, those points allow you to create a 3D model. So it's not a flat diagram. We actually have the pitches and everything. So you can see the slopes of all the facets here. You can see the dimensions, and you can see that they're down to 19 feet 11 inches for that rake, 35 feet 3 inches for that rake. You can render it if you want to see what the system that you would choose on here would look like. Over here, what we have is a list of systems in this platform. So, and we have a lot of manufacturers out there, metal manufacturers that are associated and have their own databases. But this one is really, we just call it's a generic EagleView database. And these bottom ones here are common metal systems that all the manufacturers have. So 1.5 inch snap block, very common. Every manufacturer has it. If this is selected, what I can show you here is the job review. When I go to the job review and I click on this cladding tab, it'll show you every piece of cladding that goes on this roof and all the dimensions. So there's 29 pieces of 19 feet 11 inch panels, and they're located on roof 1 in this instance. If I were to come down here, 12 feet 11 inches, you've got roof 2 and roof 11. So if I wanted to see where those were, I could come into the drawings and I can see roof 1 or roof 3, for instance. If I double click here, it's going to show me every piece and part, including the accessories that go on here. So you've got all the panels, you have all the gable, eave, ridge, cap, valley trim. If I'm back in the job review, so it'll show you all the cladding, all the trim, all the accessories, everything built in to create that entire system. And the drawings here allow you to fine tune. So you can change the colors, you can change the details. I'm not going to get into that kind of level of demonstration, but this platform is super user friendly. And you can see down here, if I get to the job review, the cladding, if I click down here on this panel, for instance, you've got a cut length of 12 feet, 10 inches, 10 and 1 1/4 inches with 3/4 inch waist on every panel. I mean, so that's the magic of this, really, is it's providing you all the tools. And then when you output this data, I showed you the EagleView report. This is what the output for that job looks like. So, I mean, that, wow, it would take literally some people days to recreate this kind of diagram. Now, if I look at the other one, the more plain job, here's the entire layout, and this is one of many different kinds of outputs you can get from the roofing passport. But it gives you the roof layout, and then every facet on the roof is broken down by detail with every panel that goes down on it. And then on the back end, you've got a finished material order here. Let me zoom out a little bit. Gives you all your panels, gives you all your accessories. You can build in price, you can build in labor, you can do a lot of customization. There's a company called Smart Build that actually runs the back end, and they do all the training, all the onboarding. And really kind of bottom line is, if you get the use of the roofing passport, or the outputs, the benefit of the roofing passport for the price of an EagleView report, and built through Smart Build. There's no subscription, none of those kinds of things. And Smart Build does, hand holding, one-on-one onboarding to get you going. So that's really, I mean, when I show this kind of documentation to contractors, that's when people's eyes light up and go, you have solved the problem, that we've had for years. And with literally a few clicks of a button, you get this output, and it's ready to go and be delivered to your supplier, not only to your supplier, but your field supervisors and your production team, because you can have this cut at the manufacturer level and deliver it out to the job, or you can bring your roll former out and and run the panels based on the list. So pretty remarkable stuff.
It is so remarkable. And when I look at these layouts, I mean, the detail, the precision of the cuts, how close it is. I mean, that's what people need. And when we were looking at earlier in our chat, how many people were already doing metal roofing and how many people are looking to do metal roofing, this is really such a strong entry point, Rob, for people who want to get into metal roofing, because it helps them with all the detail.
Right. I mean, it was, another story. I was in Salt Lake City, probably last summer, at an event, and a contractor came up and showed me a job that they had done on their own, and they ordered a bunch of pre-cut panels, and they were off by whatever the number, I don't remember what the number was, but they couldn't use a whole section of panels. It wiped out their entire profit for the entire job. So, I mean, like a little mistake like that killed the profitability for the entire job. They probably bid it incorrectly on the front end because they mismeasured. But then, from a production standpoint, they probably cobbled some things together, but it wasn't ideal for them. And the accuracy combined with how quickly you can do this, and the confidence that you can have with a tool like this will allow contractors who are hesitant, or haven't really gotten into the metal market to really approach it, in a different fashion. Certainly, it lets the contractors who are metal contractors really accelerate and do everything in their process faster and better. Yeah. But I think this is a tool that's going to give other contractors the ability to get into a very, I wouldn't say it's niche anymore, but it's an upcoming market. And metal is very profitable. Yeah. And I think we're going to see, in the restoration market, for those contractors who are out there in the storm areas, insurance companies, obviously they continue to drive, class 3 and class 4 shingles. They're driving things like metal roofing systems because they hold it better to hurricanes and hailstorms and those types of things. So I think we're going to see growth in this market. And again, this tool allows you to get into that space with confidence.
Yeah. Amazing. So before I want to kind of take that to the next thing, but we did have a question. I think it was pretty much answered from Kyle that says, I'm curious as to how they are confirming slope. But after that, after seeing everything that you did, a big smiley face. So I'm thinking, you want to address that real quick, Rob? I
can. I mean, so because we see the structures from the sides, those oblique angles, we have a proprietary software system that takes that data, the XYZ coordinates, and it knows the distance between them, and it knows the elevation gain between them, and precisely calculates the pitch of the roof, because of the metadata, really the metadata behind the imagery that we capture. That's how we do it. And we get to within, a half a, we're down to probably, if it's between a 6 and 7/12. I mean, generally framers aren't going to do an odd number. It's going to be one or the other, but we get within a fraction of an inch in terms of the pitch accuracy.
Wow. And Kyle said, even catches the pitch break. Sure. Outstanding. Yes, I know. I told you all this is going to be so exciting. Well, okay. So, and I love what you're just talking about, whether you are a contractor getting into metal roofing, that passport just is your golden ticket, really. But if you are a metal, and we have a number of you on here who are, including Kyle, with the roofing experts, but if you are already doing metal, this is an opportunity to really take your projects to the next level. And so let's talk a little bit about that project compression and what that can do for companies using the Passport system, Rob.
Yeah. So it applies not just to metal roofing, but all across the board. And with data the way it is nowadays, really the concept that we like to help customers and prospective customers understand is the sooner you use the data in the process, the faster everything goes, and when you used to have to drive a truck across town, to measure the roof and do all that, that took hours and time and money and gas and all those things. Now you can get that delivered automatically. But if you have your data up front, you're going to be able to bid accurately and not have to worry about change orders or adjusting prices. So when you get to the house, you've already have the 3D model, you already have the panels and options, laid out, and you can pick between a good, better, and best scenario. I mean, you can build those things out pre-sale or pre-appointment, so that when you get to the house, you are working the sales process, you're closing at the kitchen table, and you're walking away with a signed contract rather than having to get back to somebody, days later. But that data then goes right into your project management. The cut list is verified. The material order is automatically built for you. It's, with future integrations, this data is going to be delivered straight to a manufacturer. And if you're using, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, if you're part of the EagleView program and you're affiliated with a metal manufacturer, you're running your panel list off of a manufacturer's database. Something like the pricing is going to be in there. Like you're going to be able to click a button and bam, you got a purchase order already loaded into your manufacturer's PO system. So all those things, like what we've found, and we've studied this quite a bit, and we've interviewed tons of contractors, and we've found that people who have adopted project compression, to do what we talk about, they have, when they've gone back in and kind of dissected their business, their operations, and they've put a stopwatch on this activity and this activity and this activity, and they've seen how much they've saved in each step. Whether it's time to bid, which obviously is great on the sales side, because first to bid generally is going to be a higher close rate than everybody else. But also when you get into the production side, it's time to produce estimates, it's material. You're not running back and forth to your supplier to get missed material because you got it ordered correctly on the front end. We've seen contractors save days and weeks of labor hours, of work, and that money can be reinvested back into the business. So contractors who want to scale have to adopt technology. They just have, it's everywhere nowadays, and you can't avoid it, and you can't be competitive without really, I wouldn't say necessarily fully adopting. Ideally, it's fully adopted with a tech stack that has everything in it. Not just EagleView, but sales, canvassing, roof data measurements,
Yes.
Business management platforms that are out there as well, to just tie it from first contact with customer to collections on the end, financing in the middle, the whole 9 yards. We've seen contractors grow and scale at unprecedented rates that are out there, and been able to do things. So, I see, like, coming from Colorado, we get hailstorms all the time, and I see people just get lost in the dust because the volume of activity that's coming in so fast, exceeds their capacity to manage, the workflow and data and all that kind of stuff. And it's they either lose a lot of jobs or they have bad customer experiences because they just can't keep up with it. So, that technology really just enhances it.
Yeah, it's just amazing. And what Sherwin-Williams did with all these partners, like you said, and we're going to talk about this towards the end, but it's the full EagleView program that I'm sure all of you have seen. It's all over Metal Coffee Shop. We have information about it out there. But that full EagleView program incorporates Roofing Passport, but offers so much more, really taking it through the whole system. So let's kind of talk about that, how you can use this technology, all these resources throughout the process of selling a roof. And so big one, sales process. And I have to tell you, Rob, this was our thing. I mean, even when EagleView first started, I was like, you got to use the EagleView in the sales process. Homeowners, building owners, everyone is so impressed with it. So how are you seeing that today?
So, again, speaking from EagleView's perspective, we've got a variety of different products that can be inserted in the sales process, or your entire workflow, and leading with sales. And the contractors, I've restated, first to bid, first to convert. I mean, and that's not just in roofing; that's across the board. My daughter's 20, she's going on 26. She hasn't bought her first house yet, but she will, and it's probably going to be on a computer. And I bet you she buys her first roof on her mobile phone. So like that's where the technology is going. So I mean, you have to be there, to be competitive. And those data sources are where they're at. And that's kind of, even I'm an older person and I love technology. And that is where that's my expectations of a sales experience, is to have all that stuff wrapped up. Not, I'm going to go measure roof and then I'm going to go back to the shop and I'm going to estimate it. Then I'll email you a bid and then maybe like we can schedule something next week. I'm like, you know what? I don't have time. Let's get this thing done now. And I do think that's the expectation of consumers. So this part of the sales process is super important to have all that data up front, because you bid accurately. And again, there's no change orders.
Yeah. And we do have along that line, we have a question on, can you clarify how a person registers? Do they have to be in EagleView to use Roofing Passport and tie into a manufacturer database in RP? You actually can do it. And Rob, I'll let you answer that. Yeah,
no, it's a great question. So what I shared with you on that on the demo real quick was the EagleView database. So we have a generic database, and we did that on purpose to allow contractors who aren't affiliated with a metal manufacturer or who aren't part of the EagleView program to actually leverage the Roofing Passport database. And again, it also allows contractors, who aren't metal contractors, asphalt contractors, who certainly don't have a relationship, with the metal supplier necessarily, to be able to leverage this tool and then have the outputs to carry with them, and then go out there and source that material on their own. So no, you don't have to be part of the EagleView program to use Roofing Passport. All you have to do, Heidi will get my information out there at the end. It's rob.soper, SOPER, at EagleView.com. So feel free to shoot me an email and we can get you signed up and onboarded and trained and everything.
Yeah. And the beauty of this is, once you kind of get a feel for that, talking to your metal manufacturers, and most likely they are going to be a participating metal manufacturer with the EagleView program. Now everything is already there. It's already in Roofing Passport. Again, it's that job compression. It brings it just one step closer. Plus, you have all the opportunity to have that good, better, best with the products. So there's Rob, you and I were talking about this. We're seeing a lot of people who kind of maybe are stepping their toes in, and then they're realizing, hey, I'm going to get my metal manufacturer involved with this. And it really takes it to the whole next level.
Yep.
So on that note, estimating versus bidding. A lot of people kind of get that confused, especially when it's in the metal world and with making sure that you have the accuracy. Let's talk a little bit about that, Rob.
Yeah, I mean, estimates are estimates around numbers, and bidding is the opportunity to put those numbers in front of a prospect, or a customer. And the opportunity with a technology like Roofing Passport is not only to get very accurate estimates, hopefully estimates that aren't really estimates, they're actuals. I mean, that's the goal, right? Because then you can manage your business off of actuals, not estimates. But it also allows you to bid faster and bid multiple times. So you can build out multiple bids for a customer. Again, a good, better, best scenario. You can go from asphalt as the good, to clay or tile is the better, to standing seam, architectural, structural metal as your best solution. So, and the Roofing Passport has it in there. So I kind of glossed over that part, but you can bid asphalt in there as well. I mean, it's part of the the system that's in there. It's really designed for metal, no question about it, but you can kind of leverage it in those ways, but being able to provide, options and solutions for homeowners to suit their needs, is really important. I want to go, I'm going to take one step back, Heidi, because I was thinking about the project compression, and one of the case studies that we did, when they went through and they compressed their business cycle and they realized how much time they were saving. It was hundreds again of labor hours. They reinvested that back into their company. They were turning bids, typically in whatever, usually a week. They were turning these bids around in under 48 hours. They increased their closure rate, from about 25 to 35, 40% on these bids because they were accurate and they were getting them back so fast. And I'm just going to read off some numbers here. Additional business opportunities. And this wasn't a huge contractor either. I mean, they're kind of a mid-tier contractor, and they were looking to scale. And this is how they adopted technology in their business. But they had $864,000 annually of incremental revenue with no additional people. Just business processes and technology adoption. Time to deliver a bid, they were 2.5 times faster to deliver their bids, 33% more bids delivered, and their win rate went from 33% to 45%. So literally, the investment in technology was tens of thousands. The return on that investment was hundreds of thousands of dollars. But what it took them, I would encourage anybody, contractor wise on this call, and this ties into EagleView as well, because there's a whole suite of coaching, and I'm not necessarily pitching the coaching, but what I am pitching is to take a very hard look at your business operations and find where you can optimize, find where you can insert technology to replace, the human piece. And I'm not saying replace humans with robots and fire all your people. I'm saying replace processes with technology and then turn those people into more productive employees and grow your business. So, that company, for instance, 20 to 25 employees grew, 25% of revenue in a single year without letting anybody go and without hiring anybody new. It's just, it's kind of a remarkable transformation, but it takes a lot of business, business work. It really does, to really understand where you're leaky in your process, close those holes and, tighten the ship and really move forward.
Yeah. When we talk about bringing technology in, and I really want to, on this next slide, I want to bring this again, because there's a lot of metal roofing contractors on here. And I think for a long time, there weren't as many good solutions, right, for metal and for the metal roofing contractors like there is today with the combination of Roofing Passport and EagleView. And a lot of that had to do with obviously getting the right takeoffs, getting the cut list, and precise measurements. And I also want to say redundant entries. It's not on our list here, but I think that also makes a huge difference. Yeah. So when you're looking as a metal contractor right now, or if you're getting into metal, this is your chance to really start automating something that hasn't been that automated or even had the possibility of being automated in the past. So Rob, let's talk a little bit about this.
Yeah, I think, and I showed you in the demo, you could see an example of a cut list, one that's like crazy complicated, like that Hawaii job, to, kind of what I would consider a more routine job, like my neighbor's house right down the street that I showed you. But those takeoff and cut lists, not only do you not have to, you draw them, but you can, again, once you field verify, those measurements, before you send it to a forming machine and cut it, you can be confident that they're right. And obviously, I think I demonstrated the precision of the roofing, but when you're affiliated with the manufacturers, especially in EagleView, like when you're on one of their databases, you're bidding off of their systems, their materials. And I saw one question just pop up. What kind of caulk do you recommend for metal roofs? Like, I'm not like, I can't recommend like the material piece of it. Your manufacturer certainly can, Sherwin-Williams certainly can. But the systems that are in there have caulk in there as a component of the accessories. So that kind of thing is in there. So whatever caulk is the most appropriate for, the color, the temperature, the substrate. There's it's not one answer. I mean, there's all kinds of different solutions for the caulking, but the material ordering is incredibly simplified. Something that would take quite a bit of time. And in the asphalt side, we say if you do your material order right, like with an EagleView report and the data that's behind it, if you save one bundle, if you get one bundle more accurate, you've not only paid for the EagleView report, you paid for the trip to the distributor and back, and all that kind of stuff. So really, really important. And depending on your supply channel, you can either form it on the job. And, you can actually, I didn't show you this, but you can take the panel list and you can produce a CSV file. And if your roll former accepts that on a thumb drive or whatever, you just plug that right in, and it'll cut and label your panels right for you. So you don't have to, again, redundant entry. You don't have to fat finger a bunch of numbers in because everything's digital.
Yeah, I mean, it's really a game changer for putting that automation, putting it through. And on the point in the chat about the sealants and caulking, this is what's so great. Sorry, a shameless plug here, but this is what's so great about Metal Coffee Shop and Roofers Coffee Shop is we have some amazing manufacturers of sealants and caulks on both sites. So if you're looking for those recommendations for metal roofs, I just did a podcast with Franklin, which was Type Bond, on metal roofing. Again, I'm not recommending one over the other. I'm just saying there's lots of information out there that you can find through the directories on both Roofers Coffee Shop and Metal Coffee Shop. So to answer your question, Dominique, okay, let's talk about technology resources. We've been talking about it. We've been talking about the stacks, but really when, Rob, I'd like you to kind of maybe take a little glimpse into the future, right?
Yeah.
We have so much constantly coming at us, and artificial intelligence is really pushing a lot of this.
It's incredible. Just a step back on EagleView side, we bought a company called OmniEarth probably 4 years ago. And it was a company that had some really, really bright, they still have, and they work for us, but really super smart AI and ML, PhD scientists that work for them, and a lot of things. I mean, you don't realize how much AI is going on your iPhone and your Android and all that stuff in the background, doing what it is. But in the roofing industry, what we're able to do now, and the clear example is we launch a program or a product called Assess, and it's our drone solution. So we use the Assess imagery. We run it through our machine learning, our AI anomaly detection. So it doesn't apply to metal roofs yet, but that's coming. Stay tuned. It's really been trained. The machine has been trained for asphalt. So it can pick up anomalies. It can pick up down to, 0.3 millimeter resolution pixel anomalies. 1 pixel next to the to the next that is a little different. And it draws test squares. It circles all of the anomalies on there. Insurance carriers are adopting, this technology and accepting it in their workflows, and we've completely automated it. But that's just an example. But the data that's getting delivered now through artificial intelligence is remarkable. So we are not just, humans do all of the EagleView, report processing now. So it's not satellite, it's airplanes, it's not machines, it's humans, but we're moving. The better our imagery gets, the faster it gets, the smarter the machines get to do this kind of stuff. And it just means we're going to be able to deliver a better product in a much faster period of time. And it applies to, whether it's identifying a surface material or it's measuring things. But the thing that's crazy about it is how fast this is accelerating. And that's what blows me away. I mean, we can't even remember, pre-iPhone anymore. Like who remembers what that was like to not have a computer that could launch a crew to the moon in your back pocket. That's kind of remarkable.
It's nuts. The big brick. I remember the big brick. Yeah.
But so that's kind of a glimpse on EagleView side. And we, we are continuing to launch new and game-changing solutions on the imagery side, on the construction side, on the solar side now. I mean, like we created an entire digital surface model of the United States to recreate solar shade scenes for solar panel installations. And we've modeled this every 15 minutes of the day, 24 hours a day, for every structure that's out there. It's remarkable. And like that stuff was not possible 2-3 years ago, and what we're going to do in the next 3 to 5 years is just going to be, again, mind blowing.
Yeah. When you think about what bringing the passport and bringing EagleView together and where we're now at estimating and the precision of the aerial measurements, this wasn't even, I know I've said this a bunch of times, but it wasn't even here 3-4 years ago. It has just come on so kind. And Kyle, I think that's a great question. What kind of guarantee on accuracy is there, Rob?
Yeah, it's so for the roofing passport in particular, we measure what we see, and what we see is highly accurate. We're talking 99% range, pretty much all day long. We use the 3D models that are out there. What we don't know when we measure it is, some of the details of your installation, whether you're going to hang into a gutter by a couple inches or, overhang an eave by a couple inches. So those are the things that you have to tighten up on the job site with field verification. But because the roofing passport has the ability to configure the back end to specific application techniques, open, exposed fasteners, hem valleys, whatever it is that you're doing in particular. So the measurements, from a pure measurements perspective, that's the level of accuracy that we guarantee.
Yeah. I think that's important too, to kind of go back in the difference between what people may have seen in the report, the PDF report, and what the difference is with the XML that is going directly into roofing passport. So that is like to the NAT, and that makes a big difference in this whole system. So let's talk about training. Because training is, and there's a lot of people out there right now. You already mentioned it, growing your business, Rob. But and this will kind of get into that bigger EagleView program here. That's been one of the big pushes, is that maybe you have great sales training and you're doing one call close, but you don't have installation. You don't have enough crews or enough products. When you're really looking at the training that needs to go on, whether you're just getting into metal or you're already a metal installer, and maybe you're wanting to change up your sales team, or however you're doing that, I think training is key.
Training is probably the most undervalued, valuable thing that you can do, in your business, all across the board. I spent 33 years in the Army, pilot. All we did was train, unless we're in combat, unless we're executing, we're training all the time. And you can't get to a level of proficiency without training. And even if you get into, even if you think you're good, you're getting outdated if you're not changing, if you're not continually updating your training and doing all those things. So training's not static. It's not a one-time, and be done with it. You've got to keep up with technology, because your competitors are going to outpace you. So training across the board is super important, and the technology takes training. So whatever your tech stack is, that's in there. Whatever your front end system is, whatever your sales workflow is, whatever your estimating tools are, those things require training and proficiency in order to maximize them. And like the partners that I deal with all day long, one of the most remarkable things that I hear from people in their technology stack is, you'll have a platform, trying to be generic, but the processes out there, like the Acculinks, Job Nimbus, Job Progress, Builder Trend, Giddy Up. There's dozens of those. When they evaluate the customer utilization of those software platforms, like they use like 2% of the features that are in there, and they don't use the rest. So I was talking to somebody the other day about Microsoft Excel, and how powerful Excel is, and how little people use of that. But it's the same with a lot of these software platforms as well. And the people who develop these really want you to leverage all the technology, and that you go to those sources to get your training, and you make sure that you you take a pause, in your daily grind of activities to continue to train and sharpen your axe, your own personal axe and your team's axe, so that they get out there and cut more wood every day for you, and more efficiently, if you will. But that's it's super important. And this is a plug back to Roofer's Coffee Shop and Metal Coffee Shop, because your resources, for the contractors who are listening, with Heidi and her team are almost endless. I mean, you just tap into these guys for all kinds of resources on training and solutions that are out there.
That's what we're, thank you so much, because that's what we're trying all the time. And we have through John Sheridan Consulting, we have Metal Resources. We have a number of people who are actively training on installation. We also have Tool Belt, who is on Tool Belt, and some other folks out there who are doing these types of labor acquisition. So it's, I think, making sure that you're putting all of these different sections together is so important. So we had a great question earlier to clarify on EagleView. And so I told you we would come back. So the question was, again, are there manufacturers who are in Roofing Passport that are not in EagleView? Confusion about how contractors link to those manufacturers they buy from today if they are not in EagleView. So, Rob, you want to talk about how it works and address that as we go through?
So EagleView is not a platform. It's not a software tool like Roofing Passport. Roofing Passport is a component. It is kind of the measuring, bidding, and estimating component of EagleView. But EagleView is really more broadly an ecosystem of partners that start from coaching, to every process that you have in your business, today has, a solution that can be, solved or improved on, inside of the EagleView group that's out there. EagleView and Roofing Passport, one component of it, but EagleView is Sherwin-Williams, created and backed and branded, and they are really working hard to put together a cohort of industry expert, industry leading, not just technology, but training solutions and manufacturers and things like that to really take your business to the next level. And you don't have to be involved in EagleView to be a Roofing Passport user. You can do that on your own, like through that EagleView generic database, or you can be affiliated with the manufacturer as well. So I think I saw one question pop up. If you buy from a manufacturer who's not part of the EagleView program or part of the Roofing Passport program, you can get a hold of me. And I will pass you to the appropriate Sherwin-Williams person so that they can work with that supplier to get them engaged in it. Obviously not everybody is engaged in it, but we've got we are gaining steam with this tool because the metal manufacturers realize they are using it to estimate their own metal roofs for their customers because it is making them so much faster. I mean, they are instead of having an estimating room full of people churning these bids out, they are taking those people and they're doing more efficient things with them because they can do more with less just using the Roofing Passport tool, and they're loading their databases in there. So feel free to reach out. And I will steer you folks in the right direction if I can help.
Yeah. And to give you a little bit of clarification too on how to get involved. So if you already have a metal manufacturer, which most of anybody who's already in metal, you do, just simply ask them, are you using Sherwin-Williams coatings, which you probably already know that. And if they are, then say, hey, I want to get into the Roofing Passport. I want to get involved with this. And they will, along with Rob, and we have plenty of forms and places to fill out to get more information. But just by asking your metal manufacturer, can you get involved in this? Can we get involved? It's going to create it right there. It's the age-old demand, right? As we go through. And if you're not, and you want to have the option, a couple different options, we will just connect you with Sherwin-Williams, and they will give you a list of participating metal manufacturers who are doing that. And it's nationwide, and you can get involved in it. But this whole program was developed, Roofing Passport, EagleView, everything was developed by Sherwin-Williams. So some great information. You can find this on the directory of Metal Coffee Shop under Sherwin-Williams EagleView. You can find a lot more information there. And like you said, you can get a hold of Rob, You can get a hold of me. We'll get you connected so that you can start going down this path. It's 2 or 3 years from now, we're going to be like, hasn't it always been this way?
Right.
So good, Joshua, you got it. Thanks. Okay, perfect. So I think we answered all of our questions, Rob.
I think we did. I mean, and we're running up against the time.
I know.
So,
If there's,
I would like, I mean, from my, like, just kind of a quick closing comment from me. I know we covered a ton. We covered a lot. Thanks, Heidi, for putting this on and for recording it so people can go back and listen to it again and catch up. But if you have any questions, like across the board, metal roofing, I mean, like, I obviously can't answer everybody's question, but we've got a robust sales team who are experts in technology and experts in business innovation. And the coolest thing about like the EagleView sales force is we talk to contractors all day long, everywhere. And we see the good ones and we see the bad ones and we see the ones that are in the middle trying to get better and all that. And, we really can just consult with you and your company to kind of level set where you are and do some advising. And we know all of the software vendors out there in the industry, and we can make connections and we can create friendships and partnerships all across. And that's what I would encourage you to just even outside of EagleView. I mean, like we're here to we're here to support the network, and really put together those partnerships.
And I would recommend that everyone go to the directory for EagleView on Metal Coffee Shop. A lot of this information is there. You can find out more of what's going on with EagleView. There's been some great announcements lately. There's a lot of things happening every single day. It's kind of hard to keep up. So that's why we're happy to work with Rob and Paul so that we can have that all for you on Metal Coffee Shop. Thank you so much for all this great information. I hope everyone else was as blown away as I was with that demonstration and where this is all going in the industry. We are here to help you. So we will keep all this information continuing to get out there through the directories, through articles, through continuing presentations like this. There's a lot of MetalView Metalcast podcasts and Metal Talk. So if you want to watch some of those, plus we had one just recently on how to start your own sheet metal shop. So there's a lot of great information out there to help you take this to the next level. So again, one last time, thank you, Rob.
You're welcome. Thanks, Heidi. Appreciate it. I love being on here.
We love having you. And I want to say thank you to everyone out there. Please check out all of our Metal Talk on Metal Coffee Shop. And obviously, please go to Roofers Coffee Shop too and check out all of our education there. So we will be coming back to you next month with talking more about AI and lead generation for the metal market. It's going to be very exciting. So stay tuned. We've got a lot of metal casts coming out, and we will be seeing you next time on Metal Talk.